Hello. Today I want to briefly explain why the NANO Nuclear energy-related news released on April 2, 2026 matters, and what impact this news could have on other SMR stocks. There are many SMR stocks in the market, but what the market really reacts to is not just good technology. It reacts to whether a company can actually build something in the real world. That is exactly why this news matters. The key point is that the construction permit application for the KRONOS microreactor project, in which NANO Nuclear is involved, was submitted to the U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission, or NRC, through the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign, UIUC. According to related reports, NANO Nuclear's stock rose about 4.8% after the news came out. Why is this important? Because many SMR companies are still mostly stuck at the stage of explaining their technology or talking about future potential. This news, however, suggests that at least one project is moving from the design story into an actual regulatory process. In the nuclear industry, there is a big difference between having strong technology and actually entering the licensing process. That said, one point is very important here. This stage is not construction approval. It is the submission of a construction permit application. In other words, commercialization is not confirmed. It is more accurate to say that the real review and regulatory process is now beginning. So is this only positive for NANO Nuclear? My view is that in the short term, it could be psychologically positive for the broader SMR sector as well. One of the biggest doubts investors have had about SMR companies is whether they can actually move into real-world construction. This news provides one more example that at least some projects are entering a real regulatory pathway. In that sense, other SMR names like Oklo and NuScale could also receive some positive attention from investors, but the more important point is that the market may now begin to look at SMR companies more carefully and more critically. The key question is no longer just, is SMR a good idea? It may increasingly become, which company is moving faster through real regulatory steps and actual project execution? By that standard, even leading names like NuScale could face more pressure to prove execution, and Oklo, which is often discussed in connection with AI data center power demand, may also face more detailed questions from the market about permits, timing, and customer relationships, rather than benefiting only from broad thematic excitement. Another important point is that this news could also bring more attention to the microreactor segment itself. Traditional SMRs are often discussed in the context of large, grid-scale power. Microreactors, by contrast, may connect more naturally with distributed power demand, such as military bases, industrial sites, university campuses, and eventually, even data centers. So to summarize, there are three main takeaways from this news. First, the KRONOS project involving NANO Nuclear has now entered a real regulatory process. Second, this news could be psychologically supportive for the broader SMR sector. Third, the market may increasingly begin to evaluate SMR companies based less on thematic excitement and more on execution and licensing progress. In the end, this NANO Nuclear news is not just a one-stock story. It may be one signal that, as of April 2, 2026, the SMR sector is beginning to shift from being valued mainly on expectations to being judged more on real execution.